Today is March 31st, 2023. Today we're talking about you. Recently, we've talked about zoning. We've talked about ornament. Experience. And today we're talking about you. We've been going back and forth between things like experience, which is more of like a mental discussion about what you want to have in your house. The other one has been, zoning is more of an effect on you or an outside thing. And what the all important ingredient in this whole situation is you. Today I just posted the episode we did in January about AI, where I also talked about how no matter what happens, the important ingredient is you, the person who wants the house. And I got this idea from dinner I had with my client last night. But I don't know. I wanted to start out with mentioning a couple things. When I was growing up, there was a hockey commercial that was like the rink was totally dark. There's somebody who comes out on the ice, and I was trying to look it up. So for all I know, it could have been a figure skating commercial, but I believe it was a hockey commercial. And it really inspired me to continue playing hockey throughout my life because I just saw all the lines getting carved and the narrators talking, in a very, nowadays you maybe say like ASMR voice about like, what are you going to do? What are you going to leave out on the ice? What mark are you going to make? What story will you tell? Just like each snowflake is individual. Each time you play a hockey game, all the lines that are left on the ice is an individual record of a story with many layers, which I think is like in architecture school we did something. It was like I think palimpsest is the thing where it's like you're going over and over things, making a mark and making a story. And the earth, who knows, wherever your earth was, maybe wherever your piece of earth is, maybe there was a dinosaur there before, maybe there was totally different vegetation there. That's why we have all these layers that we find in the earth, right? And right now, while you have this desire, you're putting you there. You're one of the layers of this story. And without you, none of it could happen. We could have all of the cool materials. We could have all the technology in the world, right? We could come up with new ways to use glass, new ways to use steel. I forget what the graphene. We could find ways to use graphene in construction, or solar panels could be important, right? We could make all the building codes. We could cut down trees. We could plant more trees to create shade. But without you, without the person, that's the essential ingredient. And when I was out to dinner last night, and I was so excited. My wife and I went out to dinner with a husband and wife client, and they were talking to us about where they moved here to where we are from Canada, and they were just talking about their experience living in the city in Canada, and when they came here, they found this piece of rural area that they could live in that was 7 acres, and the inspirations and ideas that they've had, that what they want to do with this stage of their life when they're starting a business and all this type of stuff. And all of these things, I just got this electric experience, because what they're doing, they're imparting their life into this earth, right? They're they're putting it into earth. And and you could say, well, we only, out of whatever like amount of years, we're just a little tiny dot. And I got to thinking about this quote, so I'm just going to read this quote. This is Solomon speaking, King Solomon. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself, and I planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kind of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water and flourishing trees. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve everything, it was all meaningless. It was a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. So my heart began to despair over all the toil, labor under the sun. And then I realized a man can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in his work. This too I see is from the hand of God. For without him, who can find enjoyment? And I cut out a lot of stuff in there, but I'm just reading. There's a lot of verses because he gets a lot more stressed out. But I think he shared that in writing, in his record of Ecclesiastes, because it's not meaningless. The purpose is right there at the end. He like discovers it near the end. He still goes a little bit more in despair, but I find great encouragement in it, that the purpose that you have is the desire, or the feeling that you have is to be here, to experience this world and the things that you're attracted to, that there's something of a creative nature that has been put into us to make things. And one of the things that, I don't know all the scientific reasons behind this, but one thing that is so important for us to remember is that we are also a part of nature. There's I'm a green certified architect. I'm very conscious of like the importance of the environment, but the way that we speak about our part of this whole existence as if we're something totally separate from it. Now, the issue of like soul or spirit or whatever is a much bigger discussion. But right here, this thing that you see, I am literally made of pieces of this earth that may have been an animal a long time ago. It may have been a plant. Maybe it was some water from some aquifer that someone brought from thousands of miles away, that I'm literally made of. And so when we're interacting with the earth, we're all contributing in different ways, and sometimes contrasting ways, sometimes conflicting ways, to the movement and the development of this planet. And so that desire that you have, or that story that you have, the purpose, I think, and the joy of it is you just being who you are, letting that love and creativity come out of you into the world. And excuse me, when we interact with the earth, you're creating that next layer, that next piece. And I think a lot of times we can think that the purpose of that is so other people will see it, other people will appreciate it. Have you ever thought that maybe the greatest buildings in the world have never been seen by more than a few people? I love thinking about things like that. I love thinking about that maybe somebody has created this magnificent work, but the goal wasn't necessarily so that millions of people could adore it. Maybe it was so that person would be transformed, so that person's life would exist in a way that love was spread throughout the world, or whatever I'm going to say microcosm, but I feel like that's an inefficient explanation. But maybe whatever their piece of this life was, that building was important to it. But if millions of people had seen it, maybe they would have thought, this technology is amazing. This is amazing. I often think about that. I'm like, maybe the best songs have never been heard. Maybe the best poetry has never been read. But those people, what they were doing, transformed things. So the purpose or idea of putting something into architecture, I want you to know it is going to translate into the world. When we're transformed inside, people say like, be the transformation you want to see. Like, we're not out to just be like an activist entirely because what we're doing is right or what we're doing is great, but it is for doing something that is coming from your creative energy, from your heart and your mind and your life experience. You're totally influenced by all the people that have been around you, or even if you're consciously working through those things, that's still a factor in your life. And so it is to accept those things. There's one verse in Psalms that says, plans it's fun because I'm an architect, so the word plans really sticks out to me. Plans come from the heart, come from you, from the man or the woman. And the outcome comes from God. So we plan all these things, we do all these things, the outcome is from him. That's out of our control in a way, but we do control how we think about what we've done or the intent of what we've done. And that's what's important is when you're doing your house, right? He says there's nothing better than you can do than be satisfied with your work, right? And so you're doing something, you're creating something, and I feel like that in and of itself is so much satisfaction. And when you're in that moment, when you are allowing that thing to come forth, then that's when the best things really do come out. One is because appreciating something, at the end of the day, it really is a matter of thought. Now, I'm totally into like the golden section is perfect. There's a geometry that was created that will, as far as I can tell, will always exist. The Platonic geometries, the 5 shapes that are totally perfect mathematically, those are perfect. But it's all, and we're thinking about them, we could think they're stupid, right? That could fall out of popularity, even though there's something that exists that's perfect. So it's crazy that how factual things are is still up here in your experience of what your outcome will be. So the more you can be in tune with that, the better the outcome is going to be for your work of architecture. So I have a couple points that I want to make. I kind of touched on them a little bit, but some things that I think are important when it comes to you and architectural DNA is that leave a piece of you. And when I say leave, it's not now like put this building and leave it. No, you might be there 20 years. You might be there 30 years. The next generation of your family may own it. You may sell it to somebody that really appreciated what you decided to do. But right now you're creating it. When you create the home, when you live in the home, when you do the activity of the home, when you sell the home, all those things are you contributing to the I like the word zeitgeist, and I think it's because it reminds me of Transformers or robots, and I just love stuff like that. But the overall idea or the movement of the people in this world, you're contributing to that. Even if it's, somebody may never see your bathroom, the interior of your bathroom, but it's going to be a back and forth with you. And the thing that influences people the most is their experience with other people. And that can even be yourself. It's just the way you're influencing yourself, because it all starts with you. The second one is allowing the earth to inspire you. So the way the architecture comes about, right? The sun comes through somewhere, a stream trickles down somewhere. All that's pretty, but the architecture gets assigned to it in a certain way that it reacts to you. Something gets built in this world, all this energy, all this fuels, materials get mined and stuff because of the vision that you're having with that piece of nature. So the most sustainable thing we could do is to let that thing inspire you. Let that thing do something that just brings you life, that's creative, so that is something that was created and loved, that wants to be sustained and wants to be continuing through the world. The other one is the effects. So part of architectural DNA is your desire, which I touched on a little bit. Then nature, which was letting it inspire you and help shape the vision that you've got by the way you react to it. The other one is the effects of DNA. So all the codes and things like that, the way you choose to react to that, right? I was just working with a client this week, and I'm looking at the solar orientation of the home, the functionality of the home, and the city in their planning had put internet a power pole and a power junction box right in the spot on the. It's a very small piece of property, right where the um, driveway should go. And so there's all type of rules and things about what you need to do there, and so we're working through that. So that's something that is going to bring shape to the architecture. So we'll see. Maybe in this instance, it's we can find some way to redesign something, or maybe they're going to move their stuff. We don't know yet, but it's all a part of the story about the creation, and that is the art that we're bringing out of you with the architecture that we're designing in your home. And so that's what you want. It's like all these things, I see them all as contributing to the entirety. It's all a part of the whole. And if the more you keep that in mind throughout the process, I think it will influence your life in a powerful way. I'm so excited for you. So whatever you do, it's pointless, but it's very purposeful, and that we're here to enjoy things, to care for each other, to love each other, to build each other up, to work things out, right? To find ways to do things. I don't know. I don't want to say find better ways to do things, but yeah, if we want to use less energy or less fuel emissions, or we want to remove less things that are creating oxygen that we need, let's do that. Let's keep finding ways to do that. Whatever's in our heart to create that is beneficial. Everyone's got things that's important to them. So like I said, all those things I mentioned, some people are heading those up. I just talked with a friend of mine today. He's an architect, and he was another a builder that is a big inspiration to me. And he works for one of the code councils here. And he was talking to me about how the new energy codes are getting updated. And so pretty much solar panels on commercial will pretty much be mandatory. And the readiness for residential buildings is going to be solar panels. Now, the code is going to be renewable energy, but for the most part, at least, that will be a large part of it, is like charging stations in the car and renewable energy on site for each building. And so there's people, like, he's very passionate about that. Ever since I've known him since 2007, and he's always been a part of the Green Board in Florida and now nationally, and he's pushing that. Now, there's other people that I know, they're coming up with new ways of using concrete that you can span longer distances and use less concrete. Things like that. That's their that's their contribution. And all those things will come into play because of what you want to do, because of the story that you want to tell for your life through that space. All those people working on those things have practical application because of what you're doing. It's just such a beautiful thing. And today my goal was just, I got inspired by this dinner that I had with my client, that they moved to Florida. And I remember I wanted to move to New York. And when I stayed here, all the opportunities that I've had have just been amazing. And I know I have people that have done the exact opposite. They lived down south and they moved up to New York and had all type of opportunities. And it was just so inspiring, for me to be here and be able to have the career that I have serving you guys in architecture. And then seeing other people that are coming here and wherever they're going, but specifically just this person is coming to where I'm at, and they're so excited about telling their story through space, through telling their story in time and through material, and letting it build. Like they're not just telling it in the building and it's done, but that's a piece of it. It's like chapter 2, right? Chapter 1, I would say, in a way, is like before, then there's like doing the building, then there's like part 3 or act 3 or whatever you want, is that culmination of all those years you spend in the building. Thank you so much. Today is more like a thank you to you for letting this part of your life and your existence be here, and allowing me and other architects to work with you, and all the tradesmen, all the builders. We thank you for letting us create this part of your life, be a piece of something you've worked so hard for, something that you have dreamt about, something that you've toiled over, that can seem in vain. Just if you think about Solomon, it could all seem pointless at the end, but it's the way you think about it, it's the way you love it, and it's full of purpose, it's full of life for yourself, and you can't help it, but it's there for everybody to inspire everybody as well. Thank you so much for listening to the Card Custom Home and Architecture podcast. If you're ready to start your custom home and architecture journey, please go to ca-rd.com, click book a consultation, and I'd love to help you get started on your journey. We'll see you next time. Have a good day.